Get down, you ungrateful little wretch! Hattie Mae Pritchard's hand split the air and caught Emily Carter across the face before the 5-year-old could make sense of the word. The wagon lurched sideways. Emily spilled into the dirt, palms shredding on loose rock, stale bread crusts scattering around her bloodied knees. "Don't you follow! Don't you dare follow!" Wheels ground forward, dust climbed, and little Emily, barefoot, bleeding, 5 years old, watched the only family she had ever known vanish into the Montana pines. Before this story breaks your heart and puts it back together, please subscribe to this channel, ring that bell, and leave a comment telling me which town or city you're listening from tonight. I read every single one. Emily's journey has only just begun. The wagon had stopped twice that October morning. Once, so the grey mare could drink from a creek. Once, so Silas Pritchard could chew tobacco and spit it into the scrub. Little Emily Carter sat on the bench between husband and wife, the way a dog sits at the edge of a kitchen table, hoping to be noticed and terrified of the moment it is. "Hattie Mae, you ain't seriously fixing to leave that child out here?" "I'm seriously fixing to do exactly what I said I was fixing to do." "Silas Pritchard, don't you start with me. She's 5 years old, woman. She's 5 years old and she's eaten twice what she's worth, and I have made up my mind." The little girl between them did not move, did not breathe loud. Emily had learned long ago that the smallest sound from her lips could become the biggest storm from Hattie Mae. Her bare feet dangled above the floorboards. Her hands rested folded in her lap. A tiny old woman waiting for bad news she already knew was coming.
"The Lord ain't going to forgive this, Hattie."
"The Lord won't forgive this till the day you die." "The Lord ain't the one feeding her, Silas. The Lord ain't the one washing her sheets. The Lord ain't the one who gave up 2 whole years of her life on a child what wasn't hers to start with." "You said yes. You said yes when the church asked. I said yes when I thought there was money in it. I said yes when the preacher promised a stipend. Now the stipend's dried up and the child's still here. And I ain't running a charity, Silas Pritchard, and you know I ain't. There's a homestead 2 miles back. The Hendersons. The Hendersons got 6 of their own and a 7th on the way, and you know that too. Drive on, Hattie, drive on." Silas drove on. Emily grasped maybe 1 word in 3. She understood child. She understood ain't. She understood the way Hattie Mae's voice rose at the end of a sentence like a hand winding back to strike. The rest was noise. She only knew she was the thing being discussed, and that whatever was being discussed held nothing good for her. The trail narrowed. Pines pressed close on both sides. Silas pulled the reins tight. "Last chance, Hattie Mae. Last chance before God Almighty. Turn this wagon back toward Bozeman, and we'll figure something out."
"There ain't nothing to figure."
"Stop the wagon, Hattie. Stop the wagon." Silas stopped the wagon. For 1 long breath, nobody moved. Then Hattie Mae turned toward the child, and her face changed. Emily knew that face, the face Hattie wore the night she hurled the soup pot across the kitchen, the face she wore the morning she said God had played a joke on her by sending this one. It was the face that meant Emily needed to become very, very small. "Get down." Emily did not move. "Get down, child. Hattie, for the love of mercy, get down." Emily climbed down. The wagon steps sat too high for her legs. Her bare foot missed the edge. She tumbled into the dirt, and her palms tore open on a stone the size of a man's fist. She did not cry. Crying made things worse. Crying made Hattie's face do that thing, that terrible thing. Hattie May reached behind her and pulled out a small cloth bundle. 3 heels of stale bread, the kind Hattie herself would not eat. She threw it down. It landed beside Emily's bleeding hand. "There," Hattie said. "There's your supper. Don't say I never gave you nothing." "Hattie!" Silas's voice had gone thin, strangely distant. Emily looked up. She did not understand. The wagon was the only home she had ever known. The bench between Silas and Hattie was where she ate. The folded blanket beneath the seat was where she slept. The wagon was everything. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore 7, underscore, underscore, she said. It was the first word the child had spoken all morning. Hattie May's mouth cinched tight as a tobacco pouch drawn shut. "I am not your mama. I have never been your mama. Don't you call me that. Don't you ever let that word cross your lips again. You hear me, child?" "Mama, please drive on, Silas Pritchard."
Or so help me.
For one wild second, Emily believed Silas would climb down. She watched his shoulders tremble. She watched his mouth fall open. She watched his hand release the reins and drift back. Just an inch. Just that single inch a man drifts when his mind has turned. He did not climb down. He clicked his tongue. The mare stepped forward. The wheels ground into dirt, and Hattie May Pritchard never looked back. Not once. Not even when Emily ran. Because Emily ran. She forgot the bleeding palms. She forgot the bread on the ground. She ran barefoot across rocks and pine needles and broken sticks, and she screamed in a voice too large for her small body. "Wait, wait, Mama, wait!" The wagon was faster. Come back, please. I'll be good. I'll be quiet."
I won't eat nothing.
"Mama, please." The wagon was faster. She ran until her lungs caught fire. She ran until a pine root snagged her bare toe and sent her down hard on her chin. Iron and dirt flooding her mouth. She got up. She kept running. "Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Mama, I love you. Mama, I love you." The wagon rounded a bend in the trail and vanished. Emily ran past the bend. The trail stretched empty. She ran further. Still empty. She ran until running left her. Then she walked. Then she crawled. Then she sat down in the center of that trail and pressed her bleeding hands against her face and wailed. The wail of a child who has just learned the world is built on lies. "Mama, Mama, Mama, Mama." Nobody came back. The pines stood still. The wind held its breath. A single blackbird rose from a tree somewhere ahead, crossed the gray sky, and disappeared. "Mama, please, please, Mama, I'm sorry I ate so much. I'll eat less.
I won't eat nothing.
I promise, Mama." She spoke to the empty trail for a long time. The empty trail gave nothing back. After a while, she stood, because she did not know what else a person does, and she walked back the way she had run. Maybe the bread was still there. Maybe if she gathered up the bread, the wagon would return. Children think this way, that if they do the right small thing, the big wrong thing will undo itself. The bread was there. The cloth bundle sat untouched. She picked it up with hands that left red prints on the muslin. She lowered herself beside the deep wheel ruts where the wagon had stopped, and she put one heel of stale bread in her mouth. She chewed slow, the way Hattie always told her to chew, and she folded the rest tight into the cloth and pressed it against her chest like a doll. "Be good, Emily," she whispered to herself in a voice she had heard Hattie May use 1,000 times. "Be good, child. Be quiet." She sat there. After a long while, her own voice crept out again, smaller now. Mama said I wasn't her mama. Mama said, "Don't call her mama no more." She turned that over. She turned it the way a 5-year-old turns things, slowly, mouth hanging a little open. But she was my mama. She was. She made me biscuits sometimes. She made me biscuits when there was sugar. The pines offered no dispute. Maybe she didn't mean it. Maybe she was tired. Mama gets cross when she's tired. She'll come back when she ain't tired no more. She'll come back. The pines did not argue with that either. Emily reached further into memory. She did not have much to reach for, being only 5, but she had a few things. She remembered 2 winters back, a woman who smelled like clean soap. The clean soap woman had lifted her from somewhere and settled her on one hip. "What's your name, sugar?" "Emily." "Emily. That's a real pretty name. You got a last name, sugar? You remember a last name?" "Emily Carter." "Carter? All right. Emily Carter. I'm going to take you somewhere safe, sugar." That woman had carried her to a building with a long porch and too many children. A man in a black coat had spoken words over her, and then the woman with the clean soap smell had gone away. Emily remembered crying for that woman. The man in the black coat had patted her head and said, God loved her. Emily had not known what God was, but she hoped God smelled like clean soap. Then one day, Hattie May had come. That one? The little one? Yes, the one with the brown hair. Mrs. Pritchard. The child is 3 years old. "I can count, Reverend. I'll take her." "She quiet?" "She looks quiet." "She's a sweet child. Been through a great deal." "I don't need sweet. I need quiet. And I need her pulling her own weight before 6. You understand me? I ain't running no nursery." "Mrs. Pritchard, there's a stipend, ain't there?" The Reverend in the black coat had gone silent a long while. Then he said, quote, 8. 2 years. That's all you said.
That's all the church can promise.
2 years will do. Come on, child. You're mine now. That was the first time Hattie May spoke those words. You're mine. It was also the last time she said them with anything close to wanting. Emily, sitting in the dirt of an empty trail through the Montana pines, did not recall all of this in language. She recalled it in fragments. Clean soap smell, a long porch, the Reverend saying, God. Hattie May's hand closing over her shoulder. She remembered Silas on that first night at the Pritchard cabin, kneeling to her height, speaking low, speaking kind. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 11, underscore, underscore. He had not looked out for her. He had driven the wagon. The shadows stretched long across the trail now. Emily's hunger had passed through itself into something quieter, something stranger. She did not know this was the start of something dangerous. She knew only that she was tired, that dried blood crusted her chin, that the cloth bundle pressed to her chest was the single thing in this world she owned. A sound came from the pines, not distant, close. A snap, a shuffle. Emily went rigid. "Mama," she whispered. "Mama, is that you? Did you come back?" "Mama." The sound came again, nearer. "Mama, I've been good. I ain't moved from this spot. Look, Mama, look at me. I ain't moved." Nearer still. It was not Hattie May. Emily understood this the way small children understand a coming storm, not with thought, but with the fine hairs lifting on the back of her neck. She rose, slow, careful. She clutched the bread bundle against her chest with both bleeding hands. She stepped backward from the sound. She did not run. Some voice inside her, older than 5 years, was whispering, "Don't run, don't run, don't run. Running brings the thing." Whatever moved in the pines passed on. The branches settled. The forest sealed itself around its secret. Emily let out her breath.
She had been holding it without knowing.
"Be quiet, Emily," she whispered. "Be quiet. Be a good girl." She walked. She did not know where. She followed the trail because the trail was the one thing that was not pine forest. The trail had been carved by people. People might return. People had to return, didn't they? Hattie always said people came back if you were good. But Hattie had not come back. Emily walked until the sun hung low and orange between the trunks. Then she walked a little further because stopping frightened her worse than walking. Then her legs would not carry her any more. She sat at the base of a tall pine, drew her knees beneath her chin, made herself as small as a girl of 5 can make herself, which is small, but never small enough. "God," she said, the way the Reverend once taught her in that building with the long porch. "God, are you there? It's Emily. Emily Carter, the one with the brown hair." The pines gave no answer. "God, my mama left me. My mama, Hattie." I think maybe she left me on accident. I think maybe she'll remember and come back. I think probably." A wind rolled through the pines and made a long, hollow sound. "God, if she don't remember, if she don't come back, can you send somebody? Anybody? Even the Reverend. I'd be good for him. I'd be real good. I'd be quiet. I wouldn't ask for nothing." She waited, the way a child waits when told to wait by a grown person and is too afraid to disobey. Then she said the thing she had not said all day, the thing she had not permitted herself to think. "I don't want to die, God." She said it very small, said it the way a person speaks a truth too enormous for their own mouth. "Mama, Hattie said I wasn't worth the bread. She said I ate too much, said I wasn't worth keeping. Maybe she's right, God. Maybe I ain't worth keeping. But I don't want to die. I don't want to. Please, God, please." The wind gave her nothing back. But somewhere far off, so far off Emily wasn't certain she'd heard it at all. So far off, she thought maybe her mind had built it from fear, the way children build things when they're scared. A sound drifted down the trail. A horse. Just one. Not a wagon. Not the wagon. One horse, moving slow and steady, a long way off. The sound a horse makes when its rider knows the trail, when its rider has no hurry in him, when its rider has ridden this ground before. Emily lifted her face from her knees. She did not stand. She did not call out. She'd chased a wagon once today, and the wagon hadn't come back. She did not have it left in her to chase another sound that might be nothing. So she listened. The hoofbeats kept coming. Closer now. Not close, but closer. Emily pressed her cheek against her knees, closed her eyes, held the bread bundle tight, tight, tight. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 1, 4, underscore, underscore, she whispered. If that's a person, if that really is a person on this trail, please let him be kind. Please, God. I've been good. I've been so, so good. The hoofbeats kept coming. The Montana sun dropped behind the dark wall of pines, and the long shadows of the trees stretched across the trail like reaching fingers. Somewhere in the woods, a single wolf, only one, only the first, lifted its head and let out a long, thin cry that hung in the dusk like a question. Nobody wanted it answered, and 5-year-old Emily Carter, bloodied, hungry, abandoned, alone, sat very still at the base of the great pine, with 3 heels of stale bread clutched against her thin little chest. She waited for whoever the world was sending her next. The hoofbeats grew louder, then stopped. Not arrived, stopped. A horse pulled up somewhere in the trees behind her, maybe 40 yards back along the trail. Emily's whole small body went rigid against the pine bark. A man's voice came through the pines, low, rough, talking to his horse the way men do when they believe no one is listening. "Easy now. Easy, girl."
Something ain't right up here.
Emily did not breathe. "Smell that, do you? You smell that too? That's blood, girl. Something bled up here, and it weren't no deer." A pause. The creak of saddle leather. A boot striking ground. All right then. Let's have us a look." The footsteps were not William Hale's footsteps. Emily did not know that yet. She did not know William Hale at all. But her small body knew. Her small body had spent 2 years under Hattie Mae Pritchard's roof. Her small body had learned to read the difference between a step that meant food and a step that meant, "Shut your mouth, child." These steps were the second kind. "Hello?" the voice called out. Not friendly, not searching for a child, searching for something. "Anybody up there? Anybody hurt?" Emily pressed her cheek into the pine bark and made no sound. "I see them tracks, friend. I see 'em plain. Somebody come up this trail bleeding, and I'm of a mind to find out who. So you may as well speak up." The footsteps came closer, slow, each one placed deliberate, the way a man walks when he does not wish to be heard until he chooses to be. "Saw a wagon turn back maybe 20 minutes ago," the voice said. "Closer now. Saw it hauling east like the devil himself was driving. Now I find blood on the trail, and a little bitty footprint in the mud. You want to tell me what kind of story that makes, friend?" Emily's bleeding palms went wet again. She'd been clenching them. Hadn't known she'd been clenching them. The man stopped walking. Close now, maybe 10 paces from the great pine. She could hear him breathing, slow and easy, like a man with all the night ahead of him. "Little one," he said. His voice had changed. Softer, sweeter, the way a coyote softens its voice when it speaks through a henhouse door. "Little one, I know you're up here. I can see your bread bundle, sugar. I can see them bare feet behind that tree. You come on out and old Cal will see you home. You hear me, sugar?" Emily did not move. "Sugar, them woods ain't safe for a little thing like you. Old Cal's got a horse. Old Cal's got a fire. Old Cal will see you fed. You come on out now." She did not move. She did not move because Hattie Mae Pritchard, for all her cruelty, had taught Emily one thing, right? Hattie told her once about a girl 1 valley over who left with a stranger and never returned. Said it cold, hands working through a bowl of peas. That's what happens to girls who go with strangers. Don't you ever forget it, child. The lesson had settled into Emily's bones like winter damp. Old Cal was a stranger. Old Cal's voice was wrong. "Sugar, closer now." The man stood right beside the pine. Emily could see past the trunk, the toe of a boot, caked in old mud, and something darker. "Sugar, I'm losing my patience. You come out from behind that tree, or old Cal's going to come around and get you. And that would be a shame, wouldn't it? That'd be a real shame." Emily's mouth fell open, a sound rising in her throat, a sob, a whimper, the sound that always surfaced when Hattie's voice took that edge. She bit her own lip until the iron taste bloomed again. "All right, sugar. You want to play it that way?" The boot shifted. The man stepped around the pine. And that was when the second set of hoofbeats broke down the trail. Not slow, not searching, a strong, steady canter, the gait of a horse whose rider knew exactly where he was going and intended to arrive before dark. The man behind the pine, Cal, whoever Cal was, went still. Emily heard his breath catch sharp. Hell. A new voice cut across the trail, full-throated and unhurried. The voice of a man who had never once needed to soften it for anybody. "You there. Step out where I can see you." Cal stepped out.
Emily heard him do it.
The soft scuff of mud-caked boots leaving the pine, retreating to the trail. "Just traveling through, mister. Just traveling through." "You're standing a long way off the trail to be traveling through. Whose horse is that tied yonder?" "Mine, mister. That's my horse." "Mm-hmm. And what are you doing 20 paces into the trees, talking to somebody I can't see?" A pause. "Wasn't talking to nobody." "Friend," the new voice had dropped low. Low was worse than loud. Even Emily, 5 years old, understood that low was worse than loud. "Friend, you're talking to William Hale. You know that name?" The silence that followed told Emily that Cal knew the name well enough. "Mr. Hale, I didn't know it was you, sir." "That's plain. Now you tell me real slow what you were doing off this trail." Just heard something, Mr. Hale. Thought maybe a fellow was hurt." "Did you?" "Yes, sir." "And was a fellow hurt?" "Couldn't find nobody, Mr. Hale." "Mm-hmm." A long pause. The creak of saddle leather. "Cal Doggett. That's your name, ain't it? Cal Doggett. You were up before Judge Reeves last spring on a charge about a girl out of Bannock. Charge didn't stick on account of the girl wouldn't speak. You remember that, Cal?" Cal said nothing. "I remember it. I remember it real well. Now you climb on that horse of yours and ride east. And I'd better not see your face on this trail again before snowfall. You hear me, Cal Doggett?" "Yes, sir, Mr. Hale. Go." Boots scrambled. Saddle leather groaned. Hooves struck dirt. A horse went hammering away down the trail at a pace that carried no dignity in it. For a long moment, after Cal Doggett was gone, the only sound was one horse standing on the trail, breathing slow. Then the new voice spoke again. Changed. The iron had bled out of it. What remained was something quieter, something older, something almost— Emily would not have had a word for it, but she felt it. Almost tired. "Little one?" Emily did not move. "Little one, that man's gone. He won't come back. Not while I'm on this trail. You can come on out now." Emily did not come out. All right. That's all right. You stay put. I'll stay right here.
Ain't in no hurry."
You and me." A long pause. The sound of a man stepping down from the saddle. Leather shifting. Boots meeting ground. Different boots. Heavier, but slower than Cal's had been. Taking 3 paces and stopping. "My name's Will. Will Hale. Got a ranch about half a day's ride west of here. Been up to Bozeman to fetch a sack of nails, and now I'm headed home. Wasn't looking for trouble. Wasn't looking for nothing. Just headed home." Emily pressed her cheek harder against the pine. "I saw the wagon ruts where it stopped. saw where two big boots came down and where they climbed back up, saw where a little pair of bare feet came down too, and I saw where them little feet ran after the wagon, and where they walked back, and where they sat down a long while, and where they walked again up the trail toward this here pine. Emily did not breathe. Little one, I ain't gonna come at you.
I ain't gonna grab you. I ain't gonna do nothing you don't say is all right.
But I can't ride off and leave you up here neither. Wolves been running this stretch all month long. Heard one already this evening, and there'll be more once the moon climbs. Silence. So I'm going to sit myself down right here on this rock, and I'm going to eat my supper. I got jerked beef and a piece of cornbread my housekeeper Mary baked yesterday morning. Good cornbread. Got honey in it. Mary puts honey in on account of she says I got a sweet tooth, which I do. And if you was hungry, only if, I'd be much obliged for the company at supper. A pause. I'll set a piece right here on this rock. You don't gotta come for it. You don't gotta say a word to me. You can take it when I ain't looking, if that suits you better. All right. Emily heard cloth being unwrapped. She heard something placed on stone.
She heard William Hale
Lower himself down, heard the long groan a big man releases when his knees have gone to rust. Then she heard him chewing. He did not speak another word for a long while. The sun dropped the rest of its way behind the pines. Emily's stomach made a noise, a loud one, the kind of noise she would have been struck for in the Pritchard cabin. She went rigid, waited for the blow. The blow never came. Instead, William Hale laughed, soft, low, the way a man laughs at something that ain't funny, just honest. That's a hungry sound, little one. That ain't a sound a body can pretend away. Emily's eyes burned. Something hot rose through her throat. Tell you what, he said, I'm going to stand up and walk over to my horse and check her shoe. She's been favoring that left fore all afternoon, and I've been meaning to look. You'll know I'm at the horse 'cause you'll hear me talking to her. Her name's Juno.
She's a nosy old thing,
And she likes a man to make conversation. While I'm over there, that piece of cornbread on this rock, it's just going to sit. Ain't nobody watching it. All right. He stood. He walked. Emily heard every step. Hey now, Juno girl. Hey, you old nag. Let me have a look at that hoof. Emily moved. She did not decide to. Her body decided. Her body was that hungry. The bread Hattie had thrown her was 3 heels of stale crust. She had not eaten any of it for hours because she had been hoarding it, the way a child hoards what she does not believe will come again. She crawled from behind the pine on bleeding hands and bare knees. She crawled to the rock. The cornbread sat there, cut neat into a square, and it smelled like nothing she had ever known. It smelled like a place where somebody had stood in a kitchen and stirred honey into something on purpose, because somebody was going to eat it, and that somebody mattered.
she snatched the cornbread.
She bolted back behind the pine. She crammed the whole square into her mouth at once. It was the best thing that had ever happened to her. She chewed, and her eyes filled, and the tears ran down her filthy face and into the corners of her mouth and mixed with the honey. She cried, the silent kind of cry that children learn when they have learned that sound brings hurt. Over by the horse, William Hale spoke low to Juno. Easy, girl. Easy now. We ain't gonna spook nothing tonight. We ain't gonna spook nothing. Juno nickered. Yeah, I know, girl. I see her too. Emily behind the pine did not know that William Hale had watched her come out. He had timed his fussing with the horse so she could move and return and believe herself unseen. He kept at his fussing while she ate. He gave her every dignity a 5-year-old can possess when she has nothing else left.
When she finished the cornbread,
When she had licked the crumbs from her own bleeding palms, she did not fold herself as small as before. She sat at the base of the pine, just beyond his sight, and she breathed. "Little one," William said, still over by the horse, "I ain't going to ask you to come out, but I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. Just one. You don't got to say nothing. You just got to listen." Emily listened. "Was that you crying out for your mama on the trail an hour back? Was you the one saying, quote, 27, quote?" Emily's whole body went still. "You don't got to answer, little one. You don't got to say a single word. I just need to know if I heard right. If you was the one. Knock on that pine tree once if you was." A long silence stretched between them. Then with one small, bleeding fist, Emily Carter knocked once on the trunk of the great pine. William Hale said nothing for a count of 10. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, thicker, worn. It was the voice of a man who had put somebody in the ground once and never shook loose the memory of what that felt like. "All right, little one. All right, I heard you. Heard you clear." He cleared his throat. "That woman who left you, she coming back?" Silence. "Knock once for yes. Knock twice for no." Emily raised her fist, pressed it to the bark. She did not knock. She held it there a long time. Then slowly, her small, bleeding fist struck twice. 2 knocks? No. William Hale exhaled, like a man setting down a burden he'd been hauling since long before he found her. "All right, child, all right. That's the truth of it, then." He went quiet. "Then what's your name, little one? You can whisper it. Whisper it so soft, only the tree catches it. I'll be listening." Emily's mouth had gone dry. The honey was spent. Her tongue sat like a stone. "Emily," she whispered. Barely a sound. "Emily Carter." "Emily Carter." William spoke it slow, the way a reverend in a black coat had spoken it once, 2 winters past. He said it like the name belonged to somebody worth knowing. "Emily Carter. That's a fine name. That's a fine, strong name." Emily pressed her face into her knees and wept without making a sound. "Emily Carter, I ain't going to lie to you. Ain't going to make promises I can't keep. I'm a stranger on this trail, same as Cal Doggett was. You got no reason to trust me, no reason to come out from behind that pine." He paused. "But the sun's nearly gone, and there's wolves out here. Tonight's going to be cold, colder than any child your size should have to bear. So here's what I aim to do." She listened. "I'm going to build a fire right here on this trail, not close to your tree. Far enough so you don't need to worry. I'm going to lay my bedroll down beside that fire. Then I'm going to set a second blanket on the opposite side. A clean one, never been used. I'm going to leave it folded there in case some little person decides she's cold enough to come sit by the warmth of her own choosing. And I'm going to sleep, Emily Carter. Going to sleep with my back turned to that tree and my hat pulled over my eyes. I won't look once until morning. You have my word." A pause. "Come morning, when the sun's up, we'll talk about what happens next. About what you want to happen next. Not what I want, not what anybody else wants. What you want. You hear me?" Emily Carter. Emily behind the pine, face pressed to bleeding knees, belly still warm with honey. For the first time in her short life, nodded. He could not see that nod, but somehow, 100 yards through the gathering dusk, he knew. ______, quote, Underscore 28, underscore William Hale said softly, and he went to gather wood. He gathered it the way a man gathers wood when he means for the gathering to be heard. Humming low, snapping each stick with purpose, letting every small noise carry a message. I am here. I am not creeping. I am not coming for you. Emily, behind the pine,
Tracked every snap.
quote, 30, quote, he said as he worked, quote, 31, quote, 32, quote, 33, quote. A spark caught. A small fire bloomed somewhere on the trail. Emily glimpsed the orange flicker through pine bark. Just a wink of it, low against the ground. Blankets folded up here, child, William called, without turning his head. Right side of the fire. Clean one. I'm settling in on this side with my hat on my face. Gone for the night. You do what suits you. True to his word, Emily heard the long sigh of a big man lowering himself down. Heard a hat slide across a face. Heard nothing after. The cold arrived fast. Montana cold in October, that ain't a cold a body reasons with. It's a cold that walks straight into a child's bones and takes a seat. Emily shivered. She pressed her cheek harder against the bark, but the bark offered nothing, cold as everything else. Her bare feet had passed through pain some time ago and entered that strange, dead country where toes cease reporting.
She held out an hour.
Perhaps longer. Then the teeth began. The chattering of a 5-year-old's teeth is a tiny sound, but among the pines it travelled. William Hale heard it. He did not stir, did not speak. He only shifted, slow, deliberate, so his back made a broader wall against the wind pouring off the ridge. Hat over his face, waiting. Emily watched the orange flicker. She watched the blackness behind her. Somewhere deep in that blackness, a stick cracked. Not a bird, not wind. A step, 4-legged. Her body chose before her mind could weigh it. She crawled on hands and knees through the dirt, out from behind the pine, toward the fire. Her eyes never left William's hat. The hat did not move. The man beneath it did not move. She crept around the far side of the flames, the side where the blanket lay folded, and lowered herself onto the frozen ground 3 feet from the heat. She pulled the blanket over her shoulders with both bleeding hands. It smelled of wool and wood smoke, and something else. Soap. Clean soap. Emily buried her face in the wool and breathed. For the first time since the wagon rolled away, dying did not feel inevitable. From the other side of the fire, William Hale spoke without lifting his hat. "That blanket suits you, Miss Carter." Emily's whole small body flinched. He had not looked. She was certain he had not looked. He had felt her come. Yes, sir." Her voice so thin she did not know if it carried. "Glad to hear it. Mary Collins washed that one in lye soap last week. Says she'll have my hide if I dirty it." Silence. "Then who's Mary?" He did not move his hat. Answered the dark sky above him. "Mary Collins keeps the house out at the ranch. Been there 22 years. Older than I am. Meaner than I am. Makes a peach cobbler that'll bring a grown man to his knees. She's got a tongue on her like a buggy whip. But she's the kindest soul in 3 counties, Miss Carter."
That's the truth of it.
Emily turned this over in her mind. She did not know what a buggy whip was. She knew what kindest soul might mean because she carried a dim memory of the clean soap woman from 2 winters past. She said nothing more. She had nothing more to give. Out in the trees, the 4-legged step returned. Closer now. Emily went rigid. William's hand, the one resting easy across his belly, moved without hurry, without fuss. It dropped beside the bedroll and came back holding a long iron something. Laid the long iron something across his thighs. He did not lift his hat. "That'll be her," he said. Conversational, like a man remarking on the chance of rain. "Big she-wolf been working this draw. Lost 2 pups last month to a cougar. Been mean as the devil ever since. Don't you fret, Miss Carter. She and I are old acquaintances." Emily did not fret. Emily trembled. The blanket shook around her thin frame. The 4-legged step came again, from behind the very pine where she had crouched only minutes before. A low growl spilled out of the darkness. Not loud, just present. The kind of sound that tells the small creatures of the world to count their remaining breaths. William sighed. He sat up, put his hat on proper, but he did not look at Emily. He looked past the firelight into the black, and he raised the long iron thing onto his shoulder. "Evening, old girl," he said to the darkness. "I'd be obliged if you'd take supper somewhere else tonight." The growl came again, closer. "I said somewhere else, ma'am." He fired. The sound struck Emily's chest like a fist. The blanket jumped. Her ears rang white. Out in the dark, something yelped. Not a wound yelp, a fright yelp. 4 feet went hammering away through the pines. William lowered the rifle, laid it back beside the bedroll. He removed his hat again, slow, unhurried, and settled it back over his face. "My apologies for the noise, Miss Carter." Emily realized she had not been breathing. She started again. The breath escaped as a sob she could not catch in time. "It's all right, little one. It's all right. Old girl won't return tonight. She's got a long memory, and tonight's noise is going in the bad column." Emily cried. She cried the kind of cry she had not been permitted to cry in 2 years. She cried with her whole face, her whole chest, her whole small body. The blanket caught most of it. William Hale, on the other side of the fire, did not look, did not speak, did not do one single thing, except let a child weep herself empty. When she finished, truly finished, not the false stillness before another wave, but genuinely done, she was so exhausted, her neck could not support her head. "Miss Carter," William said, quiet as settling ash. "There's another blanket folded by my saddle. You're welcome to it. Make yourself a proper bed beside that fire. Don't ask. Just take." Emily looked. She saw the second blanket. She crawled. She took. She wrapped herself in 2 layers of wool and laid her body down in the dirt 3 feet from the flame. And everything in her, running on Hattie Mae's stale-bred heels for a day and a half, surrendered at once. Asleep before her cheek touched the wool. She did not hear William Hale rise sometime in the deep black middle of the night, moving quiet as smoke. Did not hear him lay his own coat over the smaller of the 2 huddled shapes beside the fire. Did not hear him sit back down on his side and watch the darkness for a long, long time. She did not hear him say, soft as a man can say a thing. The night passed. Morning came, grey and cold and honest. Emily woke to the smell of coffee, a smell she had encountered only twice in her life, both times from a distance. She sat up so fast, the blankets slid from her shoulders. William Hale crouched by the fire, pouring something dark from a tin pot into a tin cup. He did not turn. Quote, 40. She said nothing. Hungry was a question that had always carried a price at the Pritchard cabin. William said, still facing the flames. Emily nodded at his back. Then, realizing he could not see her, quote, 43. Quote, 44. He brought her a tin plate, set it on a flat stone near her blankets. Bacon, 2 pieces, a wedge of cornbread, 3 slivers of dried apple. He placed the tin cup beside it. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 45, underscore, underscore. He returned to his side of the fire, sat with his own plate, ate with his eyes on his food like a man who had eaten beside 1,000 fires alone and expected 1,000 more. Emily picked up the bacon, put it in her mouth, closed her eyes. She had no words for what bacon tasted like. She had never tasted it. Hattie had bacon sometimes, for Silas. Emily had been allowed to smell it cooking. Now it was in her mouth, salty and hot and rich with fat. And her eyes filled again. But she did not let the tears fall, because she did not want William Hale to see her cry over food. He did not see, or pretended not to. She set down the bacon, held the tin cup in both bleeding hands. Emily thought hard. She thought about a building with a long porch, a reverend in a black coat, clean soap whose name she never learned. Quote, 49. Quote, she whispered. Quote, 50. Quote, 51. Quote, William's voice stayed level. You remember the town, child? The town that Reverend was in? She shook her head. All right. That's all right. We can find out. Reverends ain't hard to find. He chewed slow. Other choice, he said, is you come on home with me to the ranch. I got a big house, too big. Got Mary, who will fuss over you something fierce. Got Hans, who'll teach you to ride a pony if you're of a mind. Got an old dog named Pete, who sleeps on the porch and been needing a friend since my last hound passed. You don't got to call me nothing. You don't got to be nothing to me. You can stay 1 night. You can stay 1 week. You can stay 1 year. Long as you need a roof's there. That's all. Emily looked into the cup of coffee. The milk made it pale. The honey made it sweet. Nobody had ever made a thing just sweet enough for her. Not once in all her years of living. Mr. Hale, sir? Yes, Miss Carter. Why are you being kind to me? He did not answer straight off. He lifted the coffee pot, poured himself another cup, drank it slow, set the cup down on the stone beside the fire. 12 years ago, Miss Carter, I had a wife. Sarah was her name. We had a daughter, Rose. They both took sick the same week, cholera. I buried them on a Tuesday. Side by side on a hill west of the ranch house. Rose was 4 years old, had brown hair like yours. He stopped, cleared his throat hard. That's why. Emily sat without moving. Ain't trying to make my Rose out of you, child. You ain't her. You're you. Emily Carter. But I've been riding past empty trails 12 years running. And I ain't never come up on one with a child sitting under a pine before. Way I see it, a man finds what the Lord sets on the trail. The Lord set you on this trail, so here we are. Emily drank the coffee. Sweet, warm. It went down into her belly and made her brave. Mr. Hale? Yes, I want to come. He did not turn his head, did not whoop or grin wide. He just nodded once, slow, like a man receiving a thing of weight. All right, Miss Carter. All right, then. We ride. They broke camp inside 20 minutes. He put out the fire careful, folded the blankets tight, tied her into his coat, far too big, sleeves rolled 6 times, and set her up in front of him on Juno's saddle. His arm a steady bar around her middle. Did not press, did not grip, just held. You hold the saddle horn, Miss Carter.
Don't worry about falling.
I got you. Juno walked. They rode west through the pines for an hour. Emily did not speak. She had never sat a horse before. The bigness of it, the warmth, the aliveness of the animal beneath her, muscles shifting under hide. A new wonder, and her small head was full to bursting with it. Mr. Hale? Yes, child. What's a dogget? He went quiet a beat. Where'd you hear that word, Miss Carter? That man last night. You called him a dogget. Cal Doggett, that's his name. A man's name, child. Just a man's name. Was he going to do something bad to me? The arm around her middle did not tighten, but Emily felt the bone of it go stiff, one beat, before it eased again. Yes, Miss Carter, he was. Oh. You don't got to worry on him. He's east of here by now and headed further. You won't see him no more. Mr. Hale. Yes, why does people do bad things to little girls? The big arm stayed steady around her. The horse walked on. William Hale did not speak for a long time. When he did, his voice had gone thick. Some men's hearts go bad, Miss Carter, same way meat goes bad. Ain't no good reason for it, just goes. And the world's job, child, is to put men like that on a road out of town and not let them back. That's all. Ain't nothing more to say about it. Oh. They rode another mile. Then ahead on the trail, around a bend of pines, came a sound Emily Carter had never expected to hear again in her life. A wagon. Coming the other way. Coming slow. Emily's whole small body went rigid against William Hale's coat. He felt it. Easy, Miss Carter. Mr. Hale. Easy, child. That's the sound of... I know what it's the sound of. You hold tight to that saddle horn. You hold tight. You hear me?
Don't you let go for nothing.
The wagon rounded the bend. It was the Pritchard wagon. Same grey mare, same chipped boards, same square shape Emily had run after through the pines until her bare feet bled, screaming for a mama who had never been her mama. In the driver's seat sat Hattie Mae Pritchard, bonnet tied tight beneath her chin, mouth a hard line. Beside her, Silas. Behind them in the wagon bed sat a third person, a man Emily did not recognize. Dark coat, flat hat, tin star pinned to his chest. A lawman. Hattie Mae's eyes caught fire the instant she saw the horse coming the other way, the instant she saw the small figure wrapped in the big man's coat, the instant she saw Emily Carter alive. Her mouth opened into a shape that was not joy. It was something worse than joy. It was calculation. "Oh, thank the Lord!" Hattie Mae shrieked, voice climbing, breaking, like she had been rehearsing it. "Oh, thank the Lord above! She's alive! My baby! My poor baby! We've been hunting for her all night! Sheriff, that's her. That's my Emily. That's the man what took her." The lawman in the wagon bed rose to his feet. His hand found the iron on his hip. "Mister," he called across 40 yards of open trail. "You put that child down. You step away from that horse real slow, and you keep them hands where I can see them." William Hale's arm did not shift from around Emily's middle. His other hand rested on the saddle horn, loose, unhurried. He did not reach for his rifle. He did not raise his voice. "Sheriff," he called back, just as calm, "my name is William Hale, and before you pull that pistol, you and me are going to have ourselves a long talk about the woman sitting next to you." The trail went silent, the kind of silent a saloon goes when the wrong man steps through its door. Even Juno quit working her bit. Even the wind through the pines held its breath. The sheriff's hand stayed on the butt of his pistol. He did not draw. He did not remove it. He just held there, measuring the man on the horse 40 yards distant, and his jaw clenched once. 65. 66. 67. The sheriff took his hand off the pistol. He took it off slow, the way a man releases a thing when he realizes he was one heartbeat from a mistake that would follow him to his grave. Hattie Mae Pritchard came off that wagon bench like a hen flapping off a fence rail. She sat hard. The wagon groaned beneath her. The sheriff turned. He had a horse tied behind the wagon. Emily saw it now, and he swung up into the saddle, walked the animal out toward William Hale at an easy pace. Hands on the reins, no weapon drawn. __quote _73. __. William did not move his arm from around Emily's middle. He spoke easy, the way a man speaks when he knows every word is being weighed for the record. "Sheriff, I rode out from Bozeman yesterday morning. About 4 yesterday afternoon, I come up this trail and seen a wagon, that wagon yonder, turning around and heading east at a hard clip. 20 minutes later, I come around the bend. Seen wheel ruts where it had stopped. A child's footprints in the mud, bare feet, and blood on a rock about so big." He raised a fist. "I followed them little tracks up the trail. Found a fellow named Cow Doggett standing off in the trees, talking soft to something he hadn't yet got his hands on. You know the name Cow Doggett, Sheriff?" The sheriff's face turned to stone. He paused. Hattie Mae shrieked from the wagon. Silas Pritchard, sitting beside his wife, did not tell him. Silas Pritchard sat with his hands between his knees and his eyes on the floorboards of the wagon. He did not say one single word. Code 81. The sheriff's voice cut across the trail, flat as a planed board. "Look at me, sir." Silas did not look up. "Silas, look at me." Silas looked up. His face was the gray of a man who had not slept and would not sleep, who knew in his bones he had earned the not sleeping. "Silas, your wife says you was out hunting for this child all night. That true?" Silas opened his mouth. Hattie Mae's hand shot out and seized his arm. She did not. She removed it slow, like the hand was unwilling. The sheriff said once more. Silence stretched until it ached. Silas's voice came out broken, a dry branch underfoot. "No, sir, we wasn't." Hattie Mae went pale as bone. "Silas Pritchard, you shut your mouth." "Hattie, I can't. I can't do it no more. 2 years I've been carrying this. Last night I laid in that wagon listening to wolves, and I could not close my eyes. I am not going to hell on your account. I told you that in Bozeman. I meant every word." "Silas." "Hattie, hush now, hush." The sheriff swung his horse broadside to the wagon. His tone went flat as iron. "Silas Pritchard, you tell me plain and slow what happened on this trail yesterday afternoon." Silas looked down at his own hands, like they belonged to a stranger. "Hattie Mae told me to stop the wagon around 4 o'clock, right out here on this trail. She had me set the child down, gave her 3 crusts of bread, told the child to stay put. Then she told me to drive on. And you drove on. I drove on, Sheriff. Left a 5-year-old child standing in the trail. Yes, sir. Knowing wolves run this draw. Yes, sir. Knowing men like Cow Doggett ride this country. Silas's voice cracked apart. __quote _104 __ Hattie Mae began to scream. Not crying, not weeping, the sound of a woman whose scheme had collapsed beneath her. A sound that climbed through the pines like something unholy, something that had no right to exist among trees. Quote, 105. Quote, 106. Quote, 107. Quote, 108. The whole trail heard it. The pines heard it. The sheriff heard it. William Hale heard it. And Emily Carter, sitting wrapped in a coat 3 sizes too large, William's arm a steady iron bar across her belly. Emily Carter heard it most of all. 2 years of "Mama, please." 2 years of making herself small. 2 years of hoarding every smile, every gentle word, every scrap of hope for a woman who had just, before a sheriff and the pines and God Almighty, called her some orphan brat. Something inside Emily that had been clinging on with both small, bleeding hands finally released its grip. She did not cry. She did not scream. She simply spoke, small and clear. The voice of a child who has at last understood one true thing. You ain't my mama. The trail went still as death. Hattie Mae's mouth fell open. Nothing came out. Emily said. William Hale's arm did not move, but Emily felt it tremble once, a single involuntary shudder, then go rigid as a fence post. The sheriff cleared his throat, cleared it a second time. Mr. Hale? Sheriff, I believe I have heard all I need to hear. I believe you have. The sheriff turned his horse back toward the wagon. His voice, when it came, carried no volume. Volume was not what the moment required. Hattie Mae Pritchard, Silas Pritchard, you will turn that wagon around, you will drive it ahead of me, slow, all the way back to Bozeman. You will not speak, you will not stop. When we reach town, you will both step down, and you will both be charged with— Mr. Hale. What would you call it, Sheriff? I'd call it abandonment of a child to die. I'd add reckless endangerment on account of Cow Doggett. And if Judge Reeves has the stomach to name it attempted murder, I'd stand behind the judge. That'll do for a start. Mrs. Pritchard, Mr. Pritchard, turn the wagon. Silas turned it, slow, like a man whose hands no longer answered to him. Hattie Mae Pritchard sat beside him with her mouth still hanging open, bonnet knocked crooked on her head. And as the wagon swung past William Hale's horse, she finally looked at Emily. Emily did not look back. She gazed straight ahead between Juno's ears, west, where the trail led home. Hattie Mae's mouth closed. The sheriff fell in behind the wagon. Before he spurred forward, he tipped his hat to William Hale. Quote 121. Quote 122. Quote 123. Quote 124. Quote 125. Quote. The wagon rolled east. The sheriff rolled east behind it. The clatter of wheels and hoofbeats shrank down to nothing. Then, silence. Emily and William sat atop Juno in the stillness that followed. She considered that. Considered it true. The way a person does when they've just spoken something honest for the first time in their life. "No, sir. I don't reckon I am." A breath. "That's a fair answer, child. But I will be." William Hale said nothing to that. He clicked his tongue at Juno. They turned west. They rode. They came down through the pines in the middle of the afternoon into a country of long grass and low hills and a sky that cracked open the way Montana skies do, wide as forever. Emily had not known the world held that much sky. She kept tilting her head back to take it in, and William kept his arm steady, and Juno walked. Somewhere around the third hour, Emily spoke again. "Mr. Hale?" "Yes, Miss Carter." "Is there really a dog?" "Beg pardon?" "At your house. You said there was an old dog named Pete." "There surely is. Sleeps on the porch. Pete's a lazy old hound. Wouldn't chase a rabbit if the rabbit ran across his nose." "Do he bite?" "Pete ain't bit nothing but his own fleas in 9 years." "Oh." A pause. "Mr. Hale?" "Yes." "Will Pete like me?" The big man behind her went quiet a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried something Emily did not yet have a word for. "Miss Carter, that old dog's going to fall in love with you the second you step onto that porch. I'd bet a year's beef on it." Emily settled back against William's coat. She said nothing for a mile. Then, quote, 143, quote, 144, quote, 145, quote, 146, quote, 147, quote, 148, quote, 149, quote, 150, quote, 151. The big arm around her pulled tight for one beat, then easy again. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 152, underscore, underscore. The Hale Ranch rose out of the long grass in the late afternoon. A low white house, a long red barn, a corral full of horses, a windmill turning slow against the breeze, and on the porch of that white house, a small, round woman in a calico apron who'd been watching the trail since lunch. Mary Collins came down off that porch the instant she spotted William's hat on the horizon. Came down fast for a woman of her years. By the time Juno reached the hitching post, Mary was already standing in the dirt with both hands planted on her hips and her mouth hanging open. She was pointing at the small, wrapped bundle tucked inside his coat. William swung down off Juno, keeping Emily steady with one hand. He set her on her bare feet in the dirt. He took off his hat. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 158, underscore, underscore. Mary Collins's mouth closed, opened, closed again. Then Mary Collins did something Emily had never had done to her in 5 years of being alive on this earth. She got down on her knees in the dirt, right there in her clean calico apron, got down so her face was level with Emily's face. She reached out one rough hand, slow, the way a person reaches toward a bird that's been hurt. "Honey child," Mary Collins said. "Honey child, you come on inside with Mary now. You come on. We're going to run a tub of warm water and find you a clean dress and put some ointment on them poor little hands, and we are gonna—" "William Hale, get out of my way. I am bringing this baby inside." William Hale stepped aside. Mary Collins stood. She held out her hand, did not grab, held it out palm up, and waited. Emily looked at the hand, looked up at Mary Collins's face. Round, lined, grey hair pinned beneath a kerchief, eyes so soft Emily did not know what to do with them. Emily placed her small, bleeding hand into Mary Collins's hand. They walked into the White House together. Behind them on the porch, the old hound called Pete raised his graying muzzle from his paws. He watched the small figure pass him by. His tail struck the boards once, a single, tired welcome. Inside, Mary Collins drew a tub of warm water. She washed Emily's hair 3 times. Twice did not cut it. The trail had settled deep. She dabbed ointment on Emily's palms, her chin, her bare feet. She found an old nightshirt of her own that hung to the girl's ankles and dressed her in it. She sat Emily at the kitchen table. She placed before her a plate of stewed beef and biscuits and butter, and a glass of milk so cold the glass wept. Emily ate. She ate until her body refused more. When the plate sat empty, she looked at Mary Collins. She looked at her with the cautious eyes of a child who understood that good things vanished. Mary Collins's eyes did something. They did not harden. They did not narrow. They went wet. Mary Collins reached across that table. She took Emily's small, bandaged hand in hers. ___quote, _165, ___. Emily's eyes brimmed. But if I keep one anyway? Then you keep one, baby. Keep 2. Keep 3. Tuck them under your pillow if you need to. Mary will not say one word. You hear me, child? Not one word. Emily took 2 biscuits. She folded them into a napkin. She pressed them against her chest and let Mary Collins lead her up the stairs to a small room with a small bed and a small lamp turned low. Mary tucked her in. Mary kissed her forehead. Sleep, baby. Ma'am. Mary. Ma'am. Yes, honey. Will Mr. Hale be here in the morning? Mary Collins smiled, and her eyes filled again, and she shook her head at her own self. Honey, child, William Hale is going to be here every morning. That man has not gone anywhere in 12 long years. You sleep now, baby. Mary's right down the hall. She pulled the door shut, soft. Emily Carter, 5 years old, lay in a clean bed for the first time in her life. The biscuits rested under her pillow, dry and safe. Her hands were bandaged, her belly was full, her hair smelled of soap. She closed her eyes. She did not pray to God this time. She did not have to. She figured God already knew. Downstairs, Mary Collins stepped into the front room where William Hale stood by the window, a cup of coffee gone cold in his hand. She said nothing for a long while. She just stood beside him. Then, quiet. William, that child has not been struck recent. She has been struck long. There is years on her, William. Years. I know it, Mary. What do you mean to do about it? William Hale gazed out at the long Montana evening settling across the grass. His jaw worked once. Mary Collins, I mean to ride into Bozeman on Friday. I mean to give my statement to the judge. I mean to make sure Hattie Mae Pritchard never sees the outside of a cell again. And then, I mean to ride to that courthouse and file every paper a man can file. William. Mary. You sure about this? William Hale set the cold coffee on the windowsill. Mary Collins, I have not been this sure of a thing since the day I asked Sarah to marry me. That little girl upstairs is home, and come Friday, the law of the state of Montana is going to agree with me. Mary Collins laid her hand on his arm. She did not say, William, be careful. She did not say, William, The courts are slow. She did not say any of the things a person could have said. What she said was, "Then I'll iron your good shirt." And she went to iron his good shirt. Friday came cold and clear. William Hale rode into Bozeman wearing that good shirt with Emily Carter on the saddle before him. She was wrapped in a new wool coat Mary Collins had cut down from one of her own. The courthouse on Main Street was full by the time they tied Juno at the post. Word had carried through 3 counties already. Hale brought a child in off the trail. The Pritchard woman left her for the wolves. Sheriffs holding both Pritchards on attempted murder. Folks who had never once stepped inside a courtroom stood crowded on those courthouse steps that morning, just to witness. Judge Reeves called the case at 10. Silas Pritchard entered a guilty plea, head bowed, hands trembling against his thighs. When the judge asked him why, he said, quote, 186, 8 years. Hattie Mae Pritchard pleaded not guilty. She delivered it with her chin lifted and her bonnet pinned straight, told the court she had been misunderstood. The child had wandered on her own. William Hale had twisted her husband's testimony through coercion. Judge Reeves let her speak. He let her go on for a good long while. When she finished, he turned to Emily Carter, sitting in the front row on William Hale's lap, wearing her new coat, new shoes dangling off the edge of the bench. And the judge said, very gentle, underscore, quote, underscore, 187, underscore. Emily looked at William. William gave one nod. Emily slid down from his lap. She walked to the front of that courtroom in her new shoes, placed her small bandaged hand on the rail. Quote, 188, quote, 189, quote, 190, quote, 191, quote, 192, quote, 193, quote, 194, quote, 195. Emily turned her eyes to Hattie Mae Pritchard. Hattie Mae Pritchard stared at the floor. Not a sound in that courtroom. Judge Reeves nodded once. Emily walked back to William. William lifted her up. The judge sentenced Hattie Mae Pritchard to 15 years. She did not scream this time, did not call Emily a brat. She just lowered herself into that chair like something had pulled the bones clean out of her. They led her through the side door, and Emily Carter never laid eyes on her again. After the room emptied, Judge Reeves stepped down from the bench in his black robe, walked to where William stood with Emily balanced on his hip. Quote, 198, quote, 199. They saw it done that afternoon. Emily Carter, age 5, became Emily Carter Hale, daughter of William Hale of the Hale Ranch, by lawful adoption of the state of Montana, sealed and signed before sundown. When they stepped out of that courthouse onto Main Street, late sun was painting the windows gold. Mary Collins stood beside the wagon with a basket on her arm and tears running down her round cheeks. She did not bother wiping them. Underscore, quote, underscore, 200 underscore. They went home. The years moved the way years move on a Montana ranch, fast through summer, slow through winter. All of them honest. Emily learned to ride a pony at 6, learned her letters at 7. Mary Collins teaching her at the kitchen table after supper. She learned to rope a calf at 9. William Hale himself coaching her in the corral. She cried the first 3 times. Rope came back empty every throw. The 4th time, she caught her loop and William Hale took the hat off his head and said, underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 201, underscore, underscore. Emily laughed so hard she tumbled off her pony. Mary Collins came running from the porch, hollering that they were both fool men, even though one of them was a girl. The biscuits under the pillow stopped eventually. Not the first month, not the 6th. Sometime in the 2nd year, Mary Collins went to strip the bedding and found nothing hidden there. She stood in the doorway of that small room, held the clean sheets against her chest, and wept for a solid 5 minutes before she got back to work. Emily called William Paw for the first time at 7. It slipped out without intent. She was in the barn, helping him with a sick foal, and she said, underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 202, underscore, underscore. William Hale went still, hand frozen on the foal's neck. Emily froze too.
For one breath,
The whole barn held silent. Then William said it soft, like the word might shatter if he spoke too loud. Yes, sweetheart, the foal is breathing wrong. Hand me that bottle. He did not make a thing of it. He never made a thing of it. He just answered to Paw from that day forward, like he had always been Paw, like he had spent 12 years waiting to be Paw again, which he had. Emily was 11 the year the trouble came riding up the road. Its name was Garrett Boone. Boone had drifted into the territory 3 years prior, bought land by the section, started crushing the small ranchers with mortgages, rigged surveys, and a banker in Helena who owed him something ugly. Garrett Boone wanted the Hale Ranch the way a starving man wants the last plate of food on earth. He rolled up one summer afternoon in a black buggy, a lawyer seated beside him. William Hale met him on the porch, with his rifle leaning against the rail at his back, and Pete the hound dozing at his feet.
Emily,
11 now, tall for her age, brown hair drawn into one thick braid down her spine, stood at his side. Mr. Hale? Boone. I have brought my attorney, Mr. Hale. I see him. There is a question, sir, regarding the southern boundary of your property. A question, Mr. Hale, of some interest to certain parties. There is no question, Boone. The boundary's been the boundary since 1869. The survey was done by Davies out of Bozeman. Davies has been dead 9 years. I got his book in my safe. And I will see Garrett Boone in hell before I see him on my south range. Mr. Hale, I urge you not to take this lightly. The court— Boone, you turn that buggy around. Boone did not turn the buggy around.
Boone smiled.
A smile that stopped well short of his eyes, and he tipped his hat toward Emily. Miss Hale, your father is making a grave error. I do hope you will speak sense to him. Emily Carter Hale, 11 years old, looked at Garrett Boone with eyes that had once watched the wagon roll away through the pines.
She said,
Mr. Boone? Yes, child. Get off our porch. Boone's smile died. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore 217, underscore, underscore, Emily said. He got off the porch. The fight consumed 2 years. Garrett Boone hired lawyers. William Hale hired sharper ones. There were nights the lamp in the front room burned past 2 in the morning. William and his attorney, Mr. Sutton, hunched over papers. Emily, 12, then 13, would come downstairs in her nightdress carrying coffee. She would sit at that table. She would listen. She would ask questions that Mr. Sutton, after the 3rd such evening, admitted were better than half his clerks could manage. When Emily was 13, she found the missing page. It lived in Davy's old survey book, a torn corner stuffed into the back binding. She pulled it loose by accident with her thumbnail one night. On it, in faded ink, ran the original 1869 boundary line, signed by Davies.
Witnessed by two old hands who were both still
Breathing, both still willing to swear an oath. Garrett Boone lost the case in spring of 1896. He lost far more than a case. The investigation that followed unearthed the rigged surveys, the banker in Helena, the favors, and the threats. Garrett Boone was indicted for fraud across 4 counties. He fled the territory, was caught in Wyoming, went to prison. The Hale Ranch held. The day the verdict came down, William Hale stood on the porch with his hat in his hands. He watched Emily, 15, nearly 16, ride in across the long grass on a chestnut mare she had broke herself. His eyes filled up the way old men's eyes do when they have no words left. Mary Collins, standing on the porch beside him, said, quote, 218. William said, quote, 219. Mary said, quote, 220. William said, quote, 221. And Mary hushed. Emily rode up to the porch, swung down, took off her hat, a man's hat. William's old one, claimed 3 years back and never surrendered. Quote 222, quote 223, quote 224, quote 225. Quote, Mr. Sutton was right about most things. She looked at him. He looked at her. Neither spoke the things they were thinking. Neither needed to. The next morning, Emily rode out to check the south fence, rode out alone. She was a woman grown in everything but years now, could ride that south range with her eyes shut. A rifle in the scabbard, a canteen on the horn, and Pete the hound. Old Pete, 12 years old, muzzle gone silver, perched in front of her on the saddle. Pete had decided in his old age that walking was beneath his dignity. She found the child by the creek. It was not a child she expected. A girl. 4 years old, perhaps 5. Brown hair knotted wild, dress torn at the hem, bare feet cut raw from creek stones. She sat on the bank with her knees drawn tight beneath her chin, eyes wide and waterless, the particular dryness that comes only after a child has wrung every last tear from herself and found the well empty. Emily Carter Hale reined in the chestnut mare. She did not call out, did not press closer. She swung down slow from the saddle, knelt in the dirt 40 feet from the child, the same distance a man named William Hale had once kept from her, and she set her hat on the ground beside her knee, and she opened the saddlebag. 226, quote, she said, soft, barely a breath. The child flinched. The child did not move. She paused. The child's gaze flickered, just barely. Honey, you hungry? No answer from the child. But her stomach spoke loud and honest, the way Emily's own belly had once spoken for her in a Montana dusk beneath a great pine. Emily reached into the saddlebag, drew out a cloth bundle, unwrapped it slow. Inside, a square of cornbread cut neat. Mary Collins had baked it that morning. Mary Collins put honey in it because Mary Collins knew Emily had a sweet tooth, which she did. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore 231, underscore, underscore. She stood. She walked. She spoke low to the chestnut mare behind her. She heard small, bare feet on creek stones, heard small hands lifting a cloth bundle, heard a small mouth chewing fast, the desperate chewing of someone afraid the food will vanish. She did not turn around. She held still a long time. When at last she looked, The cornbread was gone. The child had crept 3 feet closer than before. Those eyes fixed on Emily's face, careful, measuring. The gaze of a creature deciding whether the world had earned one more chance. Emily Carter, Hale, knelt again. She held out one hand, palm facing the sky. She did not grab, did not beckon, just held it there, waiting. The child studied the hand, studied Emily's face, then placed a small, bleeding palm into Emily's own. Emily lifted her, set her up onto the saddle, climbed behind, and wrapped one arm around the child's middle. Easy, the way a woman holds when she is keeping, not gripping. Pete the hound, perched on the saddle in front, sniffed the child once, then laid his grey head down across the child's small leg. And the child, for the first time since Emily had found her, made a sound. A laugh. Small. Startled. The laugh of a creature who has just discovered the world contains dogs. Emily turned the chestnut mare toward home. She rode at a walk. The child was small. Her arm was steady. The long grass burned gold in the late afternoon, and the white porch of the house lay far out across the prairie. "Honey, what's your name, sweetheart? You can whisper it. I'll listen." Silence stretched between them. "Lucy," the child whispered. "Lucy Adams." "Lucy Adams. That's a fine, strong name." The child pressed her head against Emily's wool coat. She did not cry, did not speak. She simply breathed. Emily Carter. Hale rode home with a child in her arms, and as the porch rose up out of the grass, the white house, the red barn, the windmill turning slow, William Hale stood on the porch with his hat off. Mary Collins came down the steps in her calico apron, one hand already pressed over her mouth. Emily understood it all at once. The thing her life had been moving toward. She had not been saved to be grateful. She had been saved to do this. Saved so that one day on a creek bank in the long grass, when a small abandoned thing looked up from dry-eyed silence, there would be a hand in this world that knew exactly what kind of hand to offer. Mary Collins reached the chestnut mare, held her arms up. Emily passed Lucy Adams down into them. __, quote, _236, __. Mary Collins looked at the child she held. Mary Collins looked at Emily on the horse. Mary Collins stood on that porch and looked at William Hale. Her chin quivered. Once. Just the once. Quote, 237,